This is an afternoon work session of the Portland City Council. The first item today is to kick off our fiscal year 24-25 service area budget work sessions. Before we start, I just want to take a moment to briefly overview the city's fiscal environment, quickly review my budget guidance, and then the goal for these sessions. The city is facing, of course, unique fiscal pressures with the expiration of substantial one-time federal support. We are in a significant inflationary environment. We have an ongoing backlog of deferred capital maintenance. That's nothing new. Decline in revenue streams, legal obligations that we must budget for, higher personnel costs, and costs related to the implementation of voter-approved charter reforms, which we are diligently implementing. Because of this, budget will span both forms of government. This budget has to meet the most critical needs of Portlanders while balancing fiscal constraints and while carrying out the transition to the new form of government, which was approved by voters. As such, my budget guidance was fairly specific in terms of directing all general fund programs, with the exception of Portland Fire and Rescue, the Portland Police Bureau, and the Bureau of Emergency Communications, otherwise pejoratively called our 911 Center, to budget within a 5% reduction in current appropriation levels. Similarly, I requested that internal service funds follow the same guidance, reducing their rates by 5% below what they would have charged with inflation. And as a result, this year's budget work sessions will focus on the most substantial financial issues, options, trade-offs, and decisions that council will be required to make within each service area to meet the constraints at hand. The Vibrant Communities Service area will kick us off today. There will then be 5 more work sessions by service areas. For the record, February 6th will focus on public safety. February 8th will focus on public works. And February 13th will focus on community and economic development. February 15th will be a shared work session by the Budget and Finance as well as the city's operations service areas. And then finally on February 22nd, it'll be a slightly different work session focusing on the city administrator's budget as well as our auditor's budget. We're in the process of finalizing dates for the 3 budget listening sessions for community input, and we will share that information later this month. But for those from the community who are watching, you will have 3 sessions to be able to provide your input. All work sessions and budget listening sessions are viewable on the City of Portland's YouTube page. And with that introduction, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Ryan to talk about the Vibrant Community Service Area. Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, colleagues. Good afternoon. It's great to be in a work session, and this is actually the first ever budget work session for Vibrant Communities. It's a work area that will focus on our sacred amenities, our much desired services, and our values that truly makes Portland, Portland. At a time of declining enrollment in our schools, population decline in general, it's really important for us to focus and prioritize why people choose to move here, build a career here, build a family here, and age in place as they sunset in their sunset years. As of now, this area includes Parks and Recreation, Portland Children's Levy, and the city's arts program. In December, we received Mayor Wheeler's budget guidance to develop budgets by this service area instead of only by our bureaus. So we're all doing something new this year, and so it's great to get this started. We are asked to develop proposals with general fund reductions and look for ways to streamline and find efficiencies to prepare for our new city administrator-led form of implementing and managing our government services, as mandated by the voter-approved charter reform. Today's presentation will reflect the connectivity between parks and recreation, arts, and services for children, ensuring our city is a great place to live, to work, and to play. I'm very proud to be in front, we all should be, of these amazing public servants. And I'll turn the presentation over to this talented, vibrant community service area leadership team. Adina Long with Parks, Darian Jones, Arts, Lisa Pellegrino, the Children's Levy, Todd Lofgren, and Claudio Campazano, who also are with Parks. Please take it away.
All right, good afternoon. Hi, I'm Todd Lofgren, Deputy Director, Portland Parks and Recreation, and I've been supporting the Vibrant Communities Service Area Budget Development. Appreciate being here, Mayor, Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Gonzalez, Maps, and Rubio. Thank you. So over the past few months, as Commissioner Ryan has stated, the Vibrant Communities Service Area team has been working together to prepare for next year's budget. Today, we'll review with you how we're proposing to respond to the mayor's budget guidance, including our new proposed organizational chart, Vibrant Communities Program, Service, and Financial Overview, FY 24-25 requested budget overview. We'll go over some key financial issues and talk about key decision packages for you, and then we'll have time for questions and discussion. So our presentation today will describe how we're responding to the Mayor Wheeler's budget guidance memos. You can see here what we have completed in our proposal and what is underway. As directed by the mayor, we have developed a service area budget led by Commissioner Ryan and have been meeting with the City Budget Office weekly throughout January. In addition, we have prepared a proposal to have a 5% general fund reduction with a focus on efficiencies. We have made significant progress working with the city bureaus and city leadership to prepare for implementation of charter reform. One area nearing final agreement is PP&R's urban forestry, transferring development permitting to the single permitting authority for the city. Per the mayor's guidance, we also have responded in the mayor's guidance. We had mayor's issue number 1 to provide options for spending down the parks levy with sustainable funding for ongoing operating costs. In addition, we have responded to mayor's issue number 2, identifying opportunities where the Portland Clean Energy Fund dollars could be used to support PP&R's existing operations and capital needs. After today's Vibrant Communities Service Area work session, you will hear how the discussions are going for mayor issue number 3 regarding the operational natural area and tree management and options for future natural resources function and how it might be funded in the city. Now I'd like to take a moment to review the city's new organizational structure. The Vibrant Communities Service Area budget proposal is being proposed in the context of a new city administrator's office and executive leadership team that includes 6 deputy city administrators, an equity officer, a sustainability officer, and an assistant administrator. The 6 service areas, each led by a deputy city administrator, include budget and finance, city operations, community and economic development, public safety, public works, and here today we'll talk about Vibrant Communities, which includes Portland Parks and Recreation with natural area and tree management, the Portland Children's Levy, and the City Arts Program. As I mentioned, we're working towards the transition of urban forestry development permitting to the single permitting authority, and this will be in the community and economic development service area. Here you see the proposed Vibrant Communities Service Area organizational chart. It depicts the reporting relationships within the service area, how we are funding the service area, and how we are seeking efficiencies with the provision of administrative support services. Led by the city administrator, the Vibrant Communities Deputy City Administrator will be supported by an administrative position. Per the City Budget Office guidance, these positions will be funded through a citywide overhead model. The other areas on this chart will be funded by sources within the service area. The Portland Children's Levy, City Arts Program, and Portland Parks and Recreation will report to the Deputy City Administrator. The Chief of Staff's office will provide strategic leadership to support the Deputy City Administrator and support coordination and communications, community engagement, council coordination, and equity and inclusion. In addition, the boxes in the blue on the right of the slide include the Chief of Staff's office and the administrative support services for the service area. The boxes in blue will be funded by an indirect service area charge in an effort to align administrative services and find efficiencies within the service area. Note the boxes in green, property, which includes real estate services, health, safety, and security, including the park ranger program, and community relations are solely providing services to Portland Parks and Recreation, so they will be funded by only Parks and Recreation. Not included in the service areas indirect, these things will not be included in the service areas indirect service charge, and Portland Children's Levy and City Arts will not pay for these services. Now we'd like to share an overview of Vibrant Communities service area, and we'll start with Lisa Pellegrino with the Portland Children's Levy.
Thanks, Todd. Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Pellegrino, Director of the Portland Children's Levy. As you all by now know, the Portland Children's Levy is a voter-approved initiative that funds programs and services for children and families in Portland, City of Portland. Since its establishment in 2002, the levy has raised over $200 million to support a variety of children and youth programs, including child abuse prevention and foster care services. The Portland Children's Levy has been instrumental in improving the lives of countless children and families in the area and is widely regarded as a model for other cities. The fourth renewal of the Children's Levy was supported by Portland voters on the May 2023 ballot. The Portland Children's Levy strives to increase opportunities for all Portland's children by supporting community-based organizations and programs that help prepare children for school, support them to be successful in and out of school, and eliminate racial and ethnic disparities in children's outcomes. The Portland Children's Levy budget supports 50 community-based organizations to provide 86 programs to historically marginalized children and their families. Here you see the Portland Children's Levy proposed organizational chart. The levy is led by a director, which is classified as a manager on that slide, and personnel include an assistant director, grant managers, communications and outreach, community engagement, and finance. The total FTE is 7.6. Please note that the dotted line to the equity and inclusion box in blue, this represents the new Vibrant Community Support Services support to the Children's Levy. Now I'll turn it over to Darian Jones from the City Arts Program.
Thanks, Lisa. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Darian Jones, and I serve as as Commissioner Ryan's Senior Policy Director of Arts, Culture, and Equity. The City Arts Program was established by Mayor Wheeler and City Council in 2018 to oversee the city's contract with the Regional Arts and Culture Council. Last year, under Commissioner Ryan's leadership as the City Arts Liaison, the program initiated a restructuring of its services and delivery model. In June, Commissioner Ryan introduced a budget note to elevate the arts in the city, and the City Arts Program will serve within the Vibrant Community Service area with a vision of placing arts, including music and entertainment, at the center of public life in Portland. Currently, the city is transitioning from a sole source contract delivery to a more diverse approach, with our first request for a proposal for arts and culture services closing today at 4 p.m. The City Arts team is meeting right now on their first kickoff meeting for those. The new model aims for a stronger performance measures and a broader, more effective delivery of art service models and grants. Next slide, please. Under the Vibrant Communities, the City Arts Program will continue to enhance and support the arts and culture ecosystem of Portland. The City Arts Program will also continue to oversee the city's public art program and coordination for arts tax services. In 2022, arts-related spending in Portland generated $405 million in economic activity and accounted for nearly half of all arts-related spending statewide. Locally, arts audience has generated more than $10.5 million in local city and county tax revenue. Under Vibrant Communities, the City Arts Program will continue to enhance and support the arts and culture ecosystem in Portland. I will now pass the mic to Director Adina Long.
Thank you, Darian. Good afternoon. I'm Portland Parks and Recreation Director Adina Long. Portland Parks and Recreation is responsible for a diverse portfolio of parks, natural areas, urban forest, and recreation facilities used extensively by Portlanders and visitors. The Bureau manages approximately 11,000 acres, which is 15% of Portland's land area. The Bureau operates 154 neighborhood parks, 11 indoor and outdoor pools, 14 community and arts centers, 6 golf courses, 160 miles of regional trails, and a motor raceway. Additionally, Portland Parks and Recreation provides services to Portlanders, including summer free-for-all, adaptive and inclusive recreation programming, and management and regulatory responsibility for Portland's forest, over 4 million trees citywide, emergency tree services in public rights-of-way, and more. The Bureau is committed to providing equitable access to its programs and facilities, and the 2020 voter-approved Parks Local Option Levy has significantly increased access and inclusivity. Portland Parks and Recreation's new foundational statements set the direction for our ultimate goal and purpose, what we aim to achieve long-term, including equitable outcomes in the community, and how we act every day to achieve our mission and vision. Portland Parks and Recreation's mission is to provide equitable access to welcoming places, programs, and services that improve community health and our environment. Our vision shares what we aim to achieve long-term. We envision a Parks and Recreation system that is responsive to diverse and changing community needs, nurturing health and connection for all. Together, we work toward equitable outcomes in accessible, safe, clean, well-maintained public spaces, healthy ecosystems and climate change resilience, learning, play, and discovery, mental, emotional, and physical wellness, community and civic connection, and jobs that support growth and belonging. These high-level outcome categories are important anchors for our actions and results framework. These outcomes help provide a strong link between our vision, what we do, and how we measure what we do. Portland Parks and Recreation manages one of the nation's most comprehensive parks and recreation systems, a system that is well-loved and well-used by Portlanders. The Bureau is supported by over 2,000 full-time and part-time employees and thousands of volunteers. Portland Parks and Recreation services are delivered through 5 divisions: land stewardship, urban forestry, assets and development, recreation services, and operations and strategies, which is proposed to transition from supporting parks and recreation exclusively to supporting the vibrant community service area as a whole. Land stewardship does all the daily care and maintenance of our developed parks and natural areas. They empty trash, clean restrooms, and maintain plantings. And they maintain and repair trails, eliminate invasive weeds, and plant native species. Land stewardship runs our community gardens, and they provide environmental education and work experiences to the youth. The 176 full-time positions you see here are augmented throughout the year, particularly in summer, by seasonal maintenance workers and other seasonal staff. The Urban Forestry Division is responsible for the planning and management of the city's urban forest. The division's responsibilities include tree maintenance operations and around-the-clock emergency service for fallen trees in public rights-of-way. Responsibilities also include education and enforcement of Title 11 regulations covering public and private trees. Urban forestry also develops and promotes forest stewardship among city residents and manages the long-term planning of the city's forest resources. Urban forestry has 85 full-time positions and also utilizes seasonal positions. While decision-making is ongoing, the Urban Forestry Division is expected to receive Portland Clean Energy funds and increase its services to Portlanders. Assets and Development Division manages the life cycle of Portland Parks and Recreation's capital assets, from planning the city's park and recreation system through design, construction, repair, and maintenance. This division has 101 full-time positions. Recreation Services is the team that operates our community centers and outdoor pools and programs our parks all summer as part of the Summer Free-for-All and Lunch and Play program. They offer arts programming at the Multnomah Arts Center and the Community Music Center, as well as delivering programming through our community partners. They program Sun Schools, and they provide adaptive and inclusive recreation programming. They also manage our golf program, the Portland International Raceway, and the Portland Tennis Center. Recreation Services has 235 full-time positions and over 1,500 seasonal positions, making Portland Parks and Recreation one of the largest youth employers in the city. I'm going to turn it back over to Todd Loughran to talk about the Vibrant Communities Support Services.
Thank you, Director Long. As we shared earlier in this presentation, the new organizational chart proposes moving some of the administrative support services of Portland Parks and Recreation to support the entire Vibrant Communities service area. The services in green, again, will support Portland Parks and Recreation, while those in blue will support the entire service area. Now I'm going to turn it over to Claudio Campuzano, Portland Parks and Recreation Finance, Property, and Technology Manager.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Claudio Campuzano. The next several slides are going to orient you to the service area budgets, key financial issues that we're facing, and how we are addressing those issues in our 24-25 budget request. Since these work sessions are happening prior to the completion of the requested budget, due on February 16, we haven't locked down the numbers yet. So for context, I'll be reviewing 23-24 base budgets, and then we'll be looking at financial issues for 24-25 and beyond. So we'll start with the Portland Children's Levy. Revenue for the Children's Levy is straightforward. Nearly all of the revenue is from a local option levy, which Portland voters first approved in 2002 and overwhelmingly renewed for the fourth time in spring 2023. In addition to over $23 million in tax revenue, the Children's Levy is funded by a payment from the 2020 Parks Local Option Levy to compensate for the compression impact caused by the passage of the Parks Levy. So expenses in the Children's Levy are largely grants that fund programs delivered by nonprofit and governmental partners, and staffing in the office is $1.6 million. Director Pellegrino spoke to the services that are provided earlier. So City Arts in 23-24 is funded primarily through the general fund with a small cash transfer from the Arts Education and Access Fund to fund a position for coordination with the 6 school districts that are funded by the tax. As the City Arts program shifts to a direct service delivery model, the city will continue disbursement of the restricted funds for the arts grants through the new RFP system that closes at 4 p.m. today, as Darian mentioned. Expenses in the arts program include grants to artists and arts organizations, management of the city's contracts for art services and internal and external partners, development and implementation of the city's cultural plan, execution of projects funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, by December 2024, and coordination of the city's arts investments and creative resources with other city priorities like climate change, homelessness, affordability, public safety, and livability. Here you see the composition of the Portland Parks and Recreation's revenues across all of our funds. Besides the general fund, we also have the Parks Local Option Levy Fund, our capital fund, 2 enterprise funds for our self-sustaining golf and raceway operations, and several other funds. So starting on the right, you can see the big slice that is general fund discretionary. That's our single biggest resource for general operations. Moving clockwise, we receive revenue from other bureaus for providing services like fountain maintenance, emergency tree response, landscape management. Intergovernmental revenue includes Metro Parks and Nature, the Metro Parks and Nature bond resources, as well as other grants. Licenses and permits. When folks, often utilities and other bureaus, need to come onto our property for construction, maintenance of their assets, or other reasons, we charge a permit fee to manage the coordination and impacts of that work. And this budget also includes development permitting fees in urban forestry, and those would be transitioning largely to a new single permitting authority in the next fiscal year. Miscellaneous is just that. It's a variety of sources. Everything from concessions at our community centers and pools to interest earnings on fund balances. Charges for services is a mix across funds, but the 2 primary components are system development charges and earned revenue from our programming, including community centers and golf courses. STCs are particularly restricted in their uses. Golf revenue supports the golf program directly, and our more general programming revenues support general programming. Taxes are what is earned through the 2020 Parks Local Option Levy. This is our second largest source of operating funding after general fund discretionary. So while charges for services is a larger slice of the pie, STCs make up the bulk of that and are dedicated to capital, specifically the expansion of the park system, whereas these taxes, the local option levy fund specific operations. So bond and note proceeds are debt repayments from one fund to another for interfund loans. And finally, fund transfers are what we receive directly from other funds. The biggest component of that is the $5 million we receive from the general fund into our capital fund each year to do ADA improvements and perform capital major maintenance on our $1.6 billion system. So expenses, much simpler, more self-explanatory pie. Unsurprisingly, personnel costs make up a big chunk of our expenses. Capital expenses and materials and services are also sizable. Internal materials and services, that's largely what we pay to the Office of Management and Finance for services like procurement, fleet, facilities, insurance, and other central costs. So zooming in for a moment on a critical resource for PP&R, system development charges. Our current projections have us earning the lowest amount of SDCs in over a decade. That's less than $10 million projected in the current fiscal year after highs of about $40 million just a few years ago. This ties to the decline in the construction permitting citywide, and based on Bureau of Development Services projections, we're anticipating revenues increasing a bit over the next several years, but still not reaching the highs from several years ago. Here you can see PP&R's planned capital expenditures by program. The single biggest program is the one funded by system development charges that we just looked at, and that's the growth program in yellow. The next biggest program is our major maintenance program, which is largely funded with that $5 million transfer from the general fund, but that's also supplemented by capital set aside, Build Portland, and other resources. We have several other smaller programs funded with a variety of resources, including the Metro Parks and Nature Bond program. Next slide. So now I'll explain some of the challenges for our service area as confronting over the coming years and how we are addressing them. So here we summarize some of the most significant impacts we're addressing as the service area enters fiscal year 24-25 and beyond. The first two columns are impacts to Portland Parks and Recreation. The first column is the 5% reduction that's required of all non-public safety general fund bureaus. The second column shows the impacts from the Parks Levy forecast that we received from the city economist at the city budget office in late December. This reduced forecast is the result of property tax compression, largely on downtown properties. I think council received a memo from Peter Hulsman, the city economist, just recently about that. Some properties in downtown are experiencing up to 50 to 75% declines in real market value. And so local option levies, they're the first levies to be impacted, and those that are impacted the most by property tax compression. And so you can see the results here. Between the general fund cuts and compression loss, PP&R will need to close a $10 million ongoing gap over the next several years. So City Arts also received a 5% general fund reduction, as noted in that third column. And in the fourth one, we've got Children's Levy, which is also a local option levy. So they're experiencing roughly 1/2 the size of the Parks Levy, so impacted similarly, but by half. So in terms of how this requested 2025 budget and financial plan will address those issues, in the Children's Levy, while forecasted revenues are declining, fund balance is such that there's likely sufficient resources to fulfill current grant obligations and other projected expenses. However, the decline in projected resources does mean that funding for competitive grant rounds planned for spring 2025 and 2026 will need to decrease by up to 25%, or that $6 to $7 million annually. City Arts. City's current general fund investment is likely insufficient, is already insufficient to meet annual arts funding requests. Due to the city's limited arts allocation overall, city is only able to fund about 700 of the 1,600 artists and organizations who apply for arts funding each year. The Art Education and Access Fund that tax is an additional increment, but while we're seeing declines in general fund allocation, we're also seeing the real value of the arts tax decline, since it's a flat $35 tax that hasn't increased in real dollar terms since its passage in 2012. Since then, it's lost nearly 1/3 of its value due to the lack of inflation adjustment. In Portland Parks and Recreation, we already touched on the impact of general fund reductions and compression loss. The other key issues include renewal of the parks levy so that collections and those services would continue in 2026 and beyond. And as we've discussed with council in the past, we continue to have a large and growing deferred major maintenance liability. Some very good news is that significant new Portland clean energy investment will expand urban forestry services in the community. So while we're seeing a contraction of available parks levy in response to general fund reductions and property tax compression, we're also seeing a significant expansion of our investment in trees in the urban canopy. So diving into the impacts of compression loss and general fund cuts, let's take a look at our grave error not bringing a glass of water to the table. A lot of talking. Let's take a look at the general fund, at the long-term forecast for the parks levy. I'll note that this forecast assumes a renewal of the levy at the current mill rate of 80 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. And this was our November forecast before we learned about the general fund reductions and the parks levy compression. So orienting you to this picture, the green bars above the zero line are local option tax revenues. The orange bars below the zero line are expenses, and the red line is the net of those two. So where the red line drops below the zero, expenses are exceeding revenues. So finally, the yellow line is fund balance. As you can see, even before we got to the downside news in December, we did have some work to do over the next 7 years to close gaps and reach balance. Oh, wow, it's amazing. Ask and you shall receive. So another key assumption that is included in our forecast is that the parks levy and not general fund picks up the cost of running and maintaining new assets. So this has taken a lot of pressure off the general fund over the last several years and continuing into the future, but you can see that that assumption is one of the drivers of our long-term imbalance. So that was November, and now here is our forecast revised in early January based on that general fund constraint and compression impacts. Compression is reducing the size of the green bar, so less revenue, and the general fund reduction puts more costs onto the levy, and that's increasing the size of the orange bar. The consequence is that that net expense line shifts downward, and the balance line decreases faster. So that brings us to a discussion about how we're going to be addressing these challenges and what we're going to be including in our requested budget. So in developing our approach to gap closing, Portland Parks and Recreation looked to Mayor's Guidance Memo number 2, which asked the Bureau to provide options for spending down the parks levy with sustainable funding for ongoing operating costs. So having built a balance of over $60 million, or nearly $60 million on the parks levy, gives us the opportunity to be thoughtful and deliberate with regard to gap closing, engaging our stakeholders more fully and allowing us to manage that gap over the next several years rather than making a hard pivot in the coming fiscal year after the news in December. So another advantage to not making that hard pivot right now is that we can adjust our targets in the event of upside in the parks levy forecast in coming years. So compression does have a tendency to release as quickly as it appears because it is a sort of a property by property impact. And as soon as real market value goes a certain amount above assessed value, it tends to, that compression goes away almost entirely, almost immediately. That said, we'll be working with our division managers in coming months to identify options that minimize impacts to service with a focus on efficiencies as per the Mayor's Guidance Memo. Nonetheless, we do anticipate reductions in service levels that were originally planned with the levy, and we'll be bringing that back to City Council over the next budget cycle. Regarding children's levy's approach to the forecast changes, we touched on that a bit earlier. Forecasted revenues plus fund balance are likely sufficient to fulfill the current grant obligations and other projected expenses. The forecast is likely to impact the next round of grants requiring those reductions of up to 25%, as I mentioned earlier. So City Arts is looking to meeting the constraint established by the Mayor's guidance through administrative savings resulting from the transition in service model that Darian spoke about. And in all instances, the Vibrant Community Service Area will be looking to use existing vacancies as opportunities to realign, gain efficiencies, and reduce budgets without layoffs. So moving on to decision packages, in keeping with the Mayor's guidance, The Vibrant Communities Service Area does not have any general fund packages, decision packages. However, there are a few adjustments that we'll be including in our requested budget that are internally funded. Starting with city art staffing, that would increase by 2 FTE to support that transition to a direct service model, and that would be funded with existing arts budget. In Portland Parks and Recreation, Land Stewardship Division, we're looking at adding 3 FTE to address span and control issues in the city nature group. With all the Parks Levy funding, Parks Levy funded growth, we're reassessing the management and supervision structure there, and these would be funded with that with the leverage funding model using Parks Levy to leverage existing general fund allocation.
Could you add 2 sentences on what you mean when you mention span of control in city nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of the ramp up in levy operations, we really expanded frontline services. So that's your park techs, your horticulturists, et cetera, who provide those frontline services. And in city nature, I think that after a couple of years, we've identified an imbalance and we need additional management and supervision for that new frontline staff.
Thanks, Claudia.
Let's see. So as we're working with our commissioner to establish the structure and funding for the Vibrant Communities executive staffing, we're submitting a decision package to create the Vibrant Communities Chief of Staff's office. While one position would be moving over from PP&R, 4 newly funded positions would be created and funded with a newly established service area and direct model that Todd mentioned earlier that charges all of the bureaus and offices within the service area. This model is being developed using the general fund overhead metric as a starting point. And that metric weights FTE and budget size. So, of course, PP&R will represent a large portion of the funding source for those positions. Finally, we're continuing to work out the details with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability regarding the Portland Clean Energy Fund investment. The set we expect to include in the requested budget submission would be the existing $40 million of equitable tree canopy program, as well as decision packages for 3 new items that Commissioner Rubio announced in late 2023. And those would be $6.2 million for the Mount Scott Community Center renovation and resiliency, $1 million arborist trainee program, and $1.6 million project to replace gasoline-powered backpack leaf blowers with battery-powered units. PP&R is engaged in ongoing conversations with planning and sustainability related to additional opportunities where Portland Clean Energy Fund, or PCEF dollars, could be used to support our existing operations and capital needs as per Mayor's direction in Memo 2. So that brings me back. It brings me to the end of Vibrant Community Service Area budget. With that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Claudio. Before I move on, I just, for a moment, would everyone that works in the Vibrant Communities area that's here today, could you please just stand up and be seen? All right. Thanks for your service. I just want to make sure we had a chance to see you. Thanks for being here. What I'd rather do instead of closing comments right now is to open this up for questions. I want to particularly thank you, Claudio, for explaining the compression issue. It's very complicated and it's very real right now. And I'm glad that we, in this first session, have a chance to understand that a little bit more deeply. So colleagues, the floor is yours. They're all capable to answer the questions. That's why we have these work sessions. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a couple.
Yeah.
You want to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, tell us about the balancing act you have to do regarding the levy and promises that were made when the levy was approved around continued general fund support. Tell me what the requirements are and where we are with that, assuming that these reductions go through as anticipated.
Want me to start? Sure. So during the referral process in 2020, the city council and during the run-up to the election, it was part of the reason why Portland Parks and Recreation needed the Parks Levy was that we all recognize periodically there are general fund cuts that need to occur. And so the Parks Levy was supposed to be a stabilizing force for park services over time and be able to mitigate those general fund cuts. So that was part of what we brought to voters in November 2020. Part of that commitment also was that Portland Parks and Recreation's general fund budget would be treated the same as other general fund supported bureaus. And so in this case, we have police, fire, and 911 not taking the 5% cut. However, at the same time, we have the total budget that's going to Portland Parks and Recreation thanks to the Portland Clean Energy Fund investments. So our total budget is actually going to be increasing. So we have two things that are true. One is this commitment that we made to treat Portland Parks and Recreation equally around the general fund. And the other is that we have new investments going into our urban canopy, which many of those investments are the same investments that we made commitments around the parks levy. And I'll just go a little deeper since we're in a budget work session, if it's okay. Half of our functional areas, the services that we provide in parks, about half of them are parks levy eligible. And so those Portland Clean Energy Fund investments in urban forestry are the same ones that we have around the parks levy.
Okay, so, and I understand why that is put into the levy. The assumption is people don't want to pay more in taxes, just have the city swap the funds out somewhere else. But I wonder to what extent during crisis times that ties our hands and our ability to actually maintain the park system the way people expect it to be maintained. Do you have a sense of that?
So we don't have Robert Taylor here today, but I think
And you don't have to answer it.
yeah,
One way here, but it's just something I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
That yeah, we make that a priority and we see that as an accountability measure.
That's right.
And I know it's important to us here, and frankly, it gives us a benchmark that helps hold us accountable internally. I've just sort of wondered how much the public really cares about that. What they want is they want a good park system.
That's right. And I think that's why I tried to bring up that example that's being considered about new investments by the Portland Clean Energy Fund going into parks levy eligible services like urban forestry.
Okay.
And the net effect is that Portlanders and the urban forests are going to get more services out of Portland Parks and Recreation, even though we are proposing a general fund cut of 5%. The increase of investment, if that goes through from the Portland Clean Energy Fund, the net effect will be more services,
Yeah, and
not less.
to be clear, I support that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question about the levy. And I know we had a chance to meet previously, and I believe you said that 2025 would be the appropriate time, but it could be as late as 2026. Am I remembering that correctly or no?
Right, based on when we collect the revenue based on property taxes, the latest it could go to voters would be the May 2026 ballot. However, that would mean in January of 26, we're proposing about a third of our operating budget cut because that's what we have coming out of the parks
And
levy.
that
So
certainly wouldn't make sense.
That's right. So
realistically,
that's right.
we would be teeing this up for 2025. Is that?
November 2025 or earlier.
Yeah,
are
and I,
good
you know,
options.
I don't mind mentioning that because I think the public has generally been extremely supportive of the Parks levy, and the Parks Bureau has been very diligent in the management and the disposition of that levy. So I want to put that on the record. It's a tough budget. The Parks Bureau has, in my opinion, done a very good job of managing its budget. You mentioned the urban forester, and I had a question about that. You know, Commissioner Ryan had to make a tough call this last week. I think it was absolutely the right call, Commissioner, to waive the fees for people who had trees come down. I had plenty come down in my neighborhood. But I wonder, do we have a sense of what the fiscal impact is to the urban forestry group, or does it have a significant fiscal impact?
Well, I think we're beginning to collect data around the damage impacts. I believe that Director Ahmad had sent an email around that was sort of a back of the envelope estimate. I haven't seen it itemized as yet. We are still out there doing work. So the tally continues, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay, yeah, and I have no doubt of that. And at some point, not now, and maybe not for a bit till we really figure it out, it would be helpful for me and maybe other members of the council to understand why the tree damage was so substantial in this last particular cycle. And I suspect it was a combination of meteorological events, potentially water saturation combined with ice, combined with wind or whatever. I don't know what it was, but maybe there's some learning to be had there. And I know that in my own neighborhood, there's a lot of discussions about trees that we weren't having a couple of weeks ago about what is the potential liability of trees. And so we viewed this as an environmental issue, as a climate action issue, um, in many regards in the Parks Bureau as an equity issue. But now we also have to look at it from a safety and a liability perspective as well. And I'll just be curious as this progresses, what your learning is and what advice you would give maybe to the future city council about what they need to consider as they discuss forestry objectives and policies.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've had a conversation with the city forester, Jen Cairo, and she and other arborists and other specialists are starting to have that conversation. And they're also collecting information about what fell where and the condition of those trees. And so I imagine that we will have something to report back to the council. And I imagine that conversation, that dialogue's happening at every municipal level in the Pacific Northwest right now, anyone who was impacted by this severe weather.
Okay, thank you. That wraps up my questions. Commissioner Gonzalez had his.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Gonzalez, would you mind if I jumped in? I just wanted to seek a quick clarification
Go for
on
it.
the question the mayor asked. I think if I understand the question the mayor asked is what financial costs does Parks take on for waiving fees for tree removal, particularly in results of the storm? I guess I don't.
Okay.
It seemed to you seem to implicate that you're counting up the costs, and I guess I don't understand where those costs come from.
Maybe I misunderstood the question then, because I answered a different question.
Okay.
So I think when someone wants to go back and do a retroactive permit, it can cost $100 for that specific permit. So we need to see how many private property owners follow up and take advantage of that waiver. And so we'll be adding up how many private property owners times that $100 permit. And we're doing that over a certain defined period of time. That's where we'll know the exact number to get back to you of what the total impact will be.
But does waiving the fee, does the Bureau incur any cost by virtue of
Just
waiving?
lost revenue.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And at least our initial take on it is something that we can manage into.
Sure, and absolutely. And let me be clear, I really want to celebrate. I support the policy. I haven't had a full briefing on it beyond what I've read in the papers. Seems like the right thing to do in the circumstances. A PBOT guy, I totally get it. I support the commissioner, and I'm glad this does not destabilize the Bureau or the Parks Bureau.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I misunderstood the original question, although I hope that my answer was helpful in some other way.
It was. We needed that information.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Can I just add a little bit to the
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
dialogue right now? I went around with the rangers on Saturday morning, mostly in the Bridal Mile neighborhood. And all you heard was chainsaws everywhere. It was crazy, like in the park, all the neighborhoods. And I just want to lift the foresters, the arborists who've been working, 2 weeks straight and many overtime hours. So when you get to the impact, we're going to see a lot of OT. So let's just lift that right now. People are working many hours to get Portland back on track after this very, very devastating storm.
I think I'm going to actually further build on the last inquiry. And I guess it's going to lead to some questions about our tree code, just big picture, and then I'm going to pull it back to budget. I think this last storm really calls into question sometimes how we can best balance community resiliency versus our climate change goals. And, and to be very specific, we've heard a number of instances of residents who wanted to get a tree either removed or reduced at some point, in part because of concerns about what it was going to do in a storm. And then sure enough, we're dealing with real challenges from those down trees. And there's a separate conversation about we want to electrify everything and we have above ground power lines. And what does that do to a community when you face a fairly significant storm? And that's a topic for another venue and another day. But I guess, given our existing tree code, assuming we're not going to materially revisit that right now, it's a big if assumption, but if we, what are your investments in emergency management, emergency response going forward in this budget? Because we will have another windstorm. Trees coming down in Portland is just, we're going to be dealing with it, whether it's a big storm or small. So just walk me through your investments in this current budget.
I'd like to answer the second part
Okay.
of your question, which wasn't a question, but I'd like to comment on it. To your question around the code, so currently we are actually working to update the urban forest management plan, which has to preempt title amendments. We actually have on our work plan to revisit Title 20 soon. So it's not that far off, but it is something that we need to do. It is definitely, we're beyond the deadline of when we should have been updating that. So that is on the docket, so you should know that. And then the other piece that I wanted to say, I couldn't tell you itemized wise how much we're investing specifically in the emergency management or operations side of the house. But I think it's important to note that the arborists, the climbers and pruners, the inspectors that are going out during the storm, that work is very specifically targeted to the storm, but there are a slew of folks who are doing dispatch and database, tracking, et cetera, and working, communicating with PBEM and PBOT. So we have to flex during emergencies. So folks who may not always work in that that area may end up being called to assist and support. So we'll have to come back with an itemized sort of amount that we're putting towards that work. But I will also state that the levy funds, I don't know the exact amount, but I believe that we doubled urban forestry's personnel through the levy. So we're in a much better place. Had this storm happened 3 years ago, I'll just say we're in a much better place. And I'll also add that urban forestry has the capacity to and did activate private company contracts for the storm. So we flex beyond our in-house capacity when we have emergencies.
Got it. That's helpful. But another topic that has come up in public comments recently was about things like Dutch elm disease and the city's approach to that. Commissioner Ryan has educated me a little bit on the history of, or the evolution on that. And just to be, maybe to the extent you recall, when did we stop helping citizens pay for that kind of tree removal? So Dutch elm, you have, city comes in, says you got to remove your tree within 30 days. There was a point sometime in the past where the city helped finance that or cover the cost, but no longer does so. And it's a pretty significant investment. And I think we heard from 2 senior citizens that had to replace 2 in a few-year period, and it's not something you budget for as a household. Mm-hmm. And I've also gone through myself 2 trees to Dutch elm. Right.
I like to think I'm pretty well versed in urban forestry and trees, but it just so happens we have our city forester here,
Okay.
and you all seem to have a lot of questions right now. So I'm gonna give up my seat for a moment.
We got an extra.
We got one.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Jen Cairo, the City Forester. So I think that change, Commissioner Gonzalez, happened maybe in 2016 or 15, and let me detail that change. Up until that time, so for a long time, pre-me in this role and pre-previous city foresters, Portland's policy has been for adjacent property owners to maintain the street tree that's adjacent to their property. That is a city asset, but that has been the practice. And most cities of our size are larger in the United States. It's the city's responsibility to maintain those street trees. So for some time, there was a practiced but not a policy exception to that for elm trees that were infected with Dutch elm disease. Where there are elm trees in Portland that are street trees is primarily in Ladd's Addition and Eastmoreland neighborhoods. They're not super common trees. And the city had for some time done those street tree removals in spite of the policy that the adjacent property owner was responsible for that. And that stopped in 2015 or 16 because of funding reasons. They're expensive to remove those large trees at times. And that funding was redirected as per Title 11 requirements towards heritage tree maintenance. Heritage trees on public property are the city's responsibility to maintain, and that had been unfunded at that time. What this all wraps up to, in my perspective, is the policy of street tree maintenance being the property owner's role instead of it being the city's role. And the PSEF funding that you've heard mentioned today could be a real boon for property owners and the city, because a part of that package is funding city responsibility for street tree maintenance instead of it being on the adjacent property owner. We know that to be a policy that is a significant burden and barrier to property owners, including those who have too little canopy. For example, low canopy, low income neighborhoods in East Portland, where even though we have free street trees that we'll plant and establish for folks, they don't want them because they know that burden comes their way. And I want to point out as well, while those elm trees are expensive to remove, that is a cost that is borne by anyone across the city when their street tree has to come out, not just because of Dutch elm disease. So it applies to everyone who has trees near their property, unless that policy changes with PSEF funding.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's a significant pain point, as you alluded to, for folks on fixed incomes. And I think the fact that it's in Ladd's Addition and Eastmoreland may make that unsympathetic to some in the city because they perceive those to be high income areas. But it is, as we heard the testimony, that is a significant unbudgeted expense for a household. And unfortunately, you often will get more than one. Once that elm hits a street, it's not uncommon you're going to be paying for two of those in a cycle. So I just put out there, I do hope we have a path to help future homeowners on this. Now that we're speaking to PSEF, what are the next steps there? So you're assuming certain dollars that would be available to parks for PSEF. Is that under the existing climate plan, or how does that fit in as it relates to your budget?
So maybe Claudio can review the projects that have been approved that we're budgeting, and then there's another tranche that's still under discussion with community input, and then for council to take a decision still. So maybe just go ahead.
Would the second category be council approval, or would that go back to committee approval?
I
Do you
believe
want to
that
speak to that,
Commissioner Rubio has her hand up and is probably an expert in this area.
So we're talking about the first tranche of budget, or of.
The second tranche.
That is still to be decided. Right now, we're focusing on the Bureau request specific to PSEF funding, and that's under discussion last night.
Right.
And it looks promising, so.
So the second tranche, would that go though to the committee, or would that come to council? Just to be clear.
Both need to come to the committee and both come to council as well.
And
Is that how it goes with the budget?
Yeah.
For PSEF dollars, it comes to county? I mean, it comes to council?
PSEF, the CIP comes to council, the community investment plan comes to council, and we approve it. We approved this last one. So it does come every time they make a funding recommendation, it comes to council.
But just to be clear, that's at the plan level. As to specific parts projects that would be funded pursuant to that plan, that doesn't come to council. That would be at the committee level, correct?
The committee, and then it comes to council anytime we expend funds properly, or proper. We vote on the cash that leaves the city.
So Commissioner Gonzalez, maybe Claudio can just repeat again. It'll be a council decision around the budget. So, so we are putting a certain number of projects that already have gone through the process that Commissioner Rubio just described and are requested. And then council, the mayor, maybe will hit those in his proposed, and then you'll be amending or voting on that for this budget cycle. So do you want to just repeat what those are?
Yeah, so the ones that are that we're going to be including in the budget right now, based on the meeting, what was it, a week ago? So we already had the $40 million of equitable tree canopy, and this most recent round includes $6.2 million for Mount. I know this is not we're not talking about other things right now, but it's $6.2 million for Mount Scott Community Center, $1 million for the arborist trainee program, and then $1.6 million to replace gasoline-powered backpack leaf blowers. So we are engaged in other conversations with PSEF, but those are the ones that passed. So all the urban forestry investments, primarily besides the trainee program, were part of earlier decisions around the equitable tree canopy, and so that's a $40 million investment over the next 5 years.
I'll also say Donnie Oliveira's here too, so he can answer more specifically. He's probably has the most current information from all of us as well. But
Okay.
he can speak to that during the natural resources.
Sounds good. All right,
Yeah,
good, thanks.
Thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner Rubio. I think I didn't want to cut off the dialogue, of course, because it would be tone deaf to what we all just experienced with this extreme winter storm, the one that's caused more damage than the one since 1962 Columbus Day storm. So it was relevant to spend some time there. That said, I know we have another session scheduled soon. So if we could get it back to budget and go forward.
We have about, just as a time check, about 15 more minutes for this section.
And then we start the other one at 3:15 right in the dot.
Yeah, we'll probably.
You'll give us 5 minutes. Okay.
So may I ask my
Yeah,
question?
Go
Okay.
for it.
All right, so thanks. A lot of my questions have been answered specific to the budget, but maybe have a different, same question, but kind of a different lens. So as these ice and heat and, the climate events are happening more and more regularly, can you talk a little bit about how that's changed your program and practice in forestry and parks? And I know it's probably still in flux right now, but what are you thinking? And what does that mean for staff capacity moving forward? Will you need more staff capacity, or do you have enough? You talked about contracting some out. And then also, you mentioned a little bit PSEF funds coming through. How do you see that changing some of your practice, if at all?
I think generally, in terms of care and maintenance and operations in parks, we're going to see issues with regards to water use. We're going to continue to deal with thinking about how we are designing parks in terms of using sustainable materials and thinking about ensuring that we're creating spaces that are resilient. I know for our, we're in the process of working towards the North Portland Aquatic Center, so we're thinking about technology. So I think in general, the city is in that headspace. And then with regards to staff, more is often better, right? But I think also it's just working smarter. We're limiting. We have to be more careful in terms of safety and exposure for our staff. And so in the summertime, sometimes their work is limited. We have to ensure that we have the right equipment and supplies for folks to work in this extreme weather. We, mid-storm, had to purchase a very large piece of equipment to help, heavy equipment to help with debris removal. And thankfully, we were able to do that within less than a day. So I think, thinking about the equipment that we need to do our jobs if we're going to continue to have these sorts of weather events. Is there anything that you want to add specifically, Jen? I thought maybe.
Just proactive tree maintenance. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about what you're doing with that?
Yeah. Or Todd could. So I'll mention two things. Yes, proactive tree maintenance. So we're going to be increasingly encourage folks to engage qualified, experienced professionals to help them with their private property trees. Hopefully, they won't have to do that for street trees because the city will be responsible for that going forward. But it's akin to just planning ahead for events that are coming and making sure everything's been done to keep trees safe and stable, or remove them when they are not able to be safe and stable. And another aspect is, I think this applies to city nature as well as the land stewardship division. Our teams, being folks who work with plants and nature and ecosystems all the time, have been working on climate resilience and climate response for some time now in terms of plant selection, how sites are designed and maintained, and looking ahead to what types of other plants we may need to use given the predicted climatic changes that we'll see in our area.
Great.
Okay. No more questions?
That's it.
Great for the next one. Thank you so much to all the presenters, to all the people here from Arts and Children's Levy and Parks. You did a lot of work to bring this where we are today. I want to say I really appreciated the fact that we really worked together as a team. We started this last year with a few other moving parts, but it really is a part of how our government is transitioning, and we're taking it seriously, and we're building an on-ramp. So when the city manager comes on board with the new governance system, we can really hit the ground running. So thanks for demonstrating that and being the first work area to go. I really appreciate all of you so much, and thanks for the great questions. Mayor, back to you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll take a recess. We'll come back for natural resources at 3:15. We are in recess. right. We'll now move into the second work session. On November 1st, we held a council session regarding the transformation alignment and the priorities for our city as we move to a new form of government. During that session, council will remember that an amendment was passed presented by Commissioner Ryan to add a citywide operational natural area and tree management unit under the Portland Parks and Recreation Bureau. In addition, all city bureaus were to align natural area and tree management positions, funding, as well as services to that unit. I voted no on that amendment in full disclosure, as I didn't have enough information to fully understand the complexity of the proposal. I had recommended a work session be held to further flesh out the details. And so with that, I want to thank Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Mapps both for bringing this work session forward. As we know, there are many bureaus who share the responsibility of managing, protecting, and restoring water, lands, trees, vegetation, fish, and wildlife, as well as our overall climate action strategy. Today, we have 5 of our bureau leaders here to present on this topic. I look forward to hearing about their joint efforts since our November 1st meeting. So I'll now welcome Commissioners Mapps and Ryan to share their comments and introduce their presenters. Thank you both.
Do you want to go first?
Why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah, we didn't plan that part, clearly. Anyway, thank you, Mayor. Yes, back in November, we had a lively conversation about natural resources and how they'll be managed citywide. And the council decision to put citywide operational natural area and tree management with parks and recreation in the vibrant communities service area. On that day, you and many constituents wisely suggested we host this work session, the one that we have today, with all these incredibly smart and capable public servants in front of us. And so to that end, we have the multiple bureaus led by 3 council offices together. We will be educated about their work related to natural resource service delivery, which has been going on for some time, just didn't start this year, and review and discuss the draft work plan that will guide the collaborative work moving forward. Today, Parks and Recreational Director Adina Long and Bureau of Environmental Services Don Chiyama will provide the overview of the scope of the natural resource work our city staff are responsible for. We will learn about the Natural Resource Delivery Assessment Project, review the Natural Resource Service Delivery Draft Work Plan, and hear from Bureau partners, Donnie Oliveira from BPS, Gabe Solomon from Water Bureau, and Millicent Williams from the Bureau of Transportation. We have invited guests to share feedback on the process and the work plan, and then we will open the floor for discussion among fellow commissioners. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Commissioner Mapps, and then we'll give it the floor to all of you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. And I want to thank everyone for being here today. I am pleased to co-host this work session on natural resources management. Now, I suspect that most people in this room are familiar with the role that parks or planning and sustainability play in natural resource management. However, I also suspect that many of you are probably less familiar with the important role that the city's infrastructure bureaus play in managing and protecting our city's natural areas, which is why I want to take a moment to shine a spotlight on the important role the city's 3 infrastructure bureaus play in this space. And why don't I start with environmental services. Now, a lot of you might think of environmental services as our city's sewer bureau, and indeed, yes, we are that. However, as the name implies, environmental services also exist to protect our natural areas, especially our rivers. Now, a very similar dynamic exists over at PBOT. Of course, that bureau is primarily responsible for managing our city's transportation network. But that transportation network intersects with and impacts our natural areas. We saw that vividly just a few weeks ago with the ice storm. Now, let's place that ice storm into historic and policy context. Now, up until recently, the city, for example, did not salt our roads during snowstorms, largely out of concern for protecting our environment. That changed in 2017 due to new facts on the ground brought about by climate change. More intense winters led the Bureau to seek new strategies to keep our roads clear of snow while also protecting the environment. That's why in 2017, PBOT worked with scientists over at BES to develop a SALT plan for about 1,700 miles of city roads. That plan helps us keep our roads clear of snow and ice while also minimizing the impact that salting has on our rivers and streams. I think you saw how effective that was in our recent ice storm. Again, I cannot sing the praises of PBOT enough there, and we had great partners over at Parks and the Urban Forestry space too. And let me share another timely case study, this time from the Water Bureau. This is a story about the impact climate change has had on our city's ability to deliver the most basic and vital of city services, and that would be, of course, drinking water. Now, everyone on this council knows that Portland draws most of its drinking water from the Bull Run watershed. However, for decades, the Water Bureau has also maintained a backup groundwater supply, which the city draws on when our main water supply at Bull Run is threatened. And let me tell you, our water supply at Bull Run is threatened quite often. I have been in this role as the commissioner in charge of the Water Bureau for 3 years, and I believe in each one of those years we've had to go to well water. The most recent being just last summer when we had the Camp Creek fire that threatened our water supply at Bull Run, which forced the Bureau to switch our water supply from Bull Run to well water. Now, I could go on and list dozens of other examples of the ways in which our city's infrastructure bureaus help manage our natural spaces. But I won't. As you see, we have staff here today who can provide a richer overview of that work than I can do. Instead, I will close by explaining why I shared those case studies with you. Those stories highlight a couple of facts. First, many bureaus, especially infrastructure bureaus, play a role in managing Portland's natural areas. Second, Portland city bureaus often coordinate and cooperate to manage these spaces, and that is good news. Third, despite frequent inter-bureau cooperation to protect the city's natural areas, on balance, the city's approach to managing our natural areas is largely ad hoc. And that's bad news. Simply put, the city lacks a strategic vision for protecting our natural areas. Now, this is not a new observation. Elected leaders and city staff have known about this problem for years, and for years, city staff across many bureaus have met together to explore strategies which will allow the city to manage our natural resources in a more efficient manner. Our North Star here is to do a better job of protecting the environment while also providing Portlanders with a good value for their tax dollars. Now, today, council will hear an update on these planning efforts. I am so honored that we have so many bureau directors here to lead us through this conversation. So I'm eager to get to this briefing. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I will turn the floor back to you, and I think you're probably just going to turn it over to our staff, unless you have new words to share.
No, it looks like I've got, according to my notes here, it looks like the BPS/PPR joint presentation with Don Uchiyama and Adina Long. Does that sound right?
Good, we're in the right place.
Perfect. Right place, right day.
Yes.
And friends.
That's 85% of success right there.
Wonderful. Well, I'll kick us off then. Thank you. Good afternoon to you, Mayor Wheeler, and to Commissioners Gonzalez, Mapps, Rubio, and Ryan, as well as to our guests. My name is Adina Long. I am the Director of Portland Parks and Recreation.
And my name is Dawn Uchiyama, Director of the Bureau of Environmental Services.
We are joined by our colleagues, Donnie Oliveira, Gabe Solmer, and hopefully soon, Millicent Williams, Directors of the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, the Portland Water Bureau, and the Portland Bureau of Transportation, respectively. We are also joined by a group of bureau managers, subject matter experts, and project managers. Together, we are here today to discuss natural resource service delivery in and by the City of Portland. And while Parks and BES have led this work, all 5 partner bureaus have a connection to the subject matter. We are proud of our long history of collaborating to deliver natural resource services to Portlanders. This afternoon, we will provide a brief background on our respective natural resource portfolios and talk about how we work together to steward those resources for the city. Next, we will share an overview of the Natural Resource Service Delivery Assessment Project that came out of Resolution 37609. We will review a draft of the Natural Resource Service Delivery Work Plan, and we will talk about the next steps and potential future work. We will hear from our fellow directors, and we will give the opportunity for our invited guests to share their input. And of course, we've reserved some time for comments and questions at the end.
Today, we are requesting your feedback on our work plan, including your thoughts about its content, process, timing, and participants, as well as any gaps you see. We're also seeking your advice on how to successfully continue this work through the government transition and beyond. And lastly, we would appreciate your feedback on how to best connect our efforts to Portland's overall economic and social recovery. Before we dive in, we want to emphasize that this is an important moment in time to not only strengthen the existing relationships between our bureaus, but to also build new ones. This will no doubt help our city's long-term aspirations for equitable climate resiliency and sustainability. We plan to leverage this process to create a shared direction for improved natural resource delivery that includes commitments to strengthen our system with a bold and comprehensive vision as a blue-green city, provide world-class community services and resources by investing in our communities equitably, delivering a healthy, clean, ecologically diverse system that provides wildlife habitat, access to nature, flood storage, and other ecosystem services, build the city's resilience to climate change, and harness our environmental protection and restoration tools to support Portland's safety, livability, and economic recovery. Portland is a global leader known for our park and green infrastructure systems. It's part of our identity as a city. Last year, the Trust for Public Land recognized Portland Park and Recreation System as the 9th best in the country based on acreage, investment, amenities, access, and equity. And Portland was a finalist for a C40 Cities Award, which recognizes the world's most inspiring and innovative cities tackling climate change. However, management of natural resources in urban areas comes with many challenges. Data collected from multiple bureaus shows that there are opportunities for improvement. The city's 2020 tree canopy monitoring report shows a decrease in Portland's tree canopy. And over the past 12 years of stream monitoring, we've observed minimal improvements in watershed health. We can do this work together better as a city rather than siloed, and that's the foundational idea for bringing our 5 bureaus together in a shared work plan. So in referring to the broad scope of the work that falls under the umbrella of natural resources, this slide highlights the general categories that were considered as part of the planning process, including canopy, climate resilience, and natural areas. And among those categories, there's often overlap. Over the next few slides, we'll describe work already occurring under the umbrella of natural resources.
Thank you, Dawn. Portland Parks and Recreation's City Nature Team cares for nearly 8,000 natural area acres and 120 miles of soft surface trails across 90 sites. This includes hundreds of culverts, bridges, signs, and additional infrastructure. The Bureau's Natural Area Stewardship Program hosts volunteers of all backgrounds and ages. Thanks to the efforts of volunteers, partner organizations, and interns, Portland benefits from over 37,000 hours of volunteer time restoring and enhancing natural areas each year. The stewardship team also contributes significantly to both the city and the Bureau's diversity, equity, and inclusion goals by proactively fostering and nurturing nature-based connections with community organizations focused on and led by people of color, as well as with schools and other local organizations. The Ecologically Sustainable Landscapes Initiative has created 19 nature patches in neighborhood parks to give people access to nature close to home. Portland Parks and Recreation's Urban Forestry Department cares for 1.2 million park trees and regulates 240,000 street trees. The Bureau also does important work to support natural resources that is not directly reflected in these numbers. This includes climate action, wildfire risk reduction, habitat restoration, environmental planning, and environmental education. I'm going to hand it back to Dawn for a few moments for an overview of her Bureau's work.
Great, thank you, Adina. So BES is a highly regulated wastewater and stormwater utility responsible for the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the city's wastewater, stormwater collection and conveyance systems, as well as watershed management. Stormwater is a natural resource that BES strategically manages to protect public health, safety, and water quality, to build climate resilience, and to improve habitat and wildlife, including salmon. Multiple drivers compel BES to cool water with shade, create space for storm flows, remove passage barriers for salmon, and clean water as it moves to our rivers and groundwater. BES has 3 funding sources: rates, non-rate sources, and capital financing. About 91% of BES's funding comes from sanitary and stormwater rates that are collected from every household and business in Portland. The remaining 9% is made up of other fees and charges, primarily system development charges and development review fees. As a business line that is largely funded from utility rates, our funds must be directly dedicated towards providing wastewater and stormwater services consistent with the city charter and our legal obligations. Any changes to programs, employees, and funding needs to ensure that related activities continue to demonstrate a clear nexus to the provision of wastewater and stormwater services. Given past litigation, we are highly sensitive to ensuring that nexus. I'm going to hand it back to Adina now for a deeper dive into how our bureaus work to protect and manage our urban forest.
Thanks again, Dawn. The trees in Portland's urban forest are critical green infrastructure that provide health, environmental, safety, and ecological benefits to Portlanders by improving air quality, increasing climate resilience by absorbing greenhouse gases, and reducing heat island effects, reducing stormwater runoff, improving traffic safety, improving physical and mental health outcomes for people, and providing habitat for wildlife and pollinators. 29.8% of Portland is currently covered by trees. The city is home to 1.2 million park trees, 2.9 million private trees, and 240,000 street trees. In 2021, Portland's urban forest held a structural value of $5.2 billion. Portland Parks and Recreation's Urban Forestry Department is responsible for managing the urban forest. The functions urban forestry performs can be grouped into 4 main categories, which are shown on the screen: tree maintenance operations, science, outreach, and planting, strategy and planning, and permitting and regulation. All told, the Urban Forestry Department includes 116 full-time equivalent staff. In fiscal year 22-23, urban forestry funding sources totaled $13 million. This figure includes general fund and parks levy, fee revenue, restricted trust funds, and interagency transfers. In October 2022, $40 million from the Portland Clean Energy Fund was allocated to equitably increase tree canopy in Portland. Over the past year, Portland Parks and Recreation's Urban Forestry Department has worked closely with PSEF staff and community stakeholders to design and begin implementation of this historic investment. Urban Forestry will administer the program with community guidance from the Equitable Tree Canopy Work Group, which PSEF is currently recruiting members for. Now, Dawn is going to talk about BES's work with trees before we dive into natural areas.
Okay, great. So the BES tree program is currently supported by 3 FTE and $600,000 in material services. This program is responsible for managing BES's Title 11 tree requirements. Our resources go towards the annual planting of approximately 450 to 700 trees on private property, as well as the establishment, monitoring, technical assistance, and pruning of previously planted trees. Trees planted by BES under this program receive 4 years of establishment and a 5th year of pruning. BES also has a tree bait program that provides a credit on Portland's water, sewer, and stormwater bill for residential tree planting. Tree bait encourages Portlanders to plant trees that will intercept rainwater, reducing the amount of stormwater runoff collected in the sewer system during rainstorms and reducing pollution to rivers. So now we'll look at the natural areas and their associated functions and management.
Thanks, Dawn. Natural areas provide critical ecological services all Portlanders rely on. They support climate resiliency through carbon sequestration and cooling, stormwater management and flood control, wildlife habitat, and clean air and water. Natural areas also provide sustainable access to nature, which is associated with positive physical, mental, and emotional health impacts. Restored creeks and habitat also support wild salmon, which are culturally significant to our local indigenous communities. Portland Parks and Recreation's City Nature team stewards Portland's urban natural areas for wildlife, people, and ecosystem health while providing safe, sustainable access to nature. The list on the screen shows the functions and tasks Portland Parks and Recreation staff perform to care for natural areas. Direct natural area maintenance includes 31 full-time equivalents and 5 seasonal staff, plus about $5 million in budget in fiscal year 22-23. This covers operating budgets for the 3 natural areas teams and includes a mix of general fund, levy funds, and revenue from interbureau agreements. Our program also benefits from other resources, including grants, fees collected in lieu of mitigation, annual volunteer hours, which are valued at nearly $1.2 million, and huge amounts of in-kind support from partner organizations. Now I'll hand it back to Dawn to take a look at BES's work in natural areas.
Great, thank you, Adina. So Adina already mentioned the importance of natural areas as green infrastructure, providing carbon sequestration, stormwater management, flood control, and habitat. They provide foundational ecological services that all Portlanders rely on, regardless if they actually visit the natural area. Like most of our assets, not all natural areas are created equal. They serve different purposes and are at different stages with a range of risks and opportunities. BES made an intentional choice in 2019 to reorganize around functional delivery areas. As a result, our natural area work is distributed across the Bureau and fully integrated with all of our other stormwater and sanitary infrastructure work, including capital project delivery, programmatic and operational delivery, and water quality compliance. Currently, BES manages approximately 900 acres of natural areas, and we do not work alone. It is a strong commitment of our program that we partner with other public agencies, community groups, and private property owners on natural area restoration projects. BES's natural area work is required by or supports the city's compliance with 15 federal environmental laws, some of which are noted on this slide, as well as multiple state laws and local requirements. The tools used to address the regulatory requirements come in many forms, including permits, court orders, and intergovernmental agreements. The city's Municipal Separate Storm System Permit, or MS4 as it's commonly known, requires the city to take steps to address the impacts of stormwater on rivers and streams. This includes reducing pollutants, but also restoring hydrology. Our natural area work plays a critical role in meeting these requirements and helping to shape how we design projects, where they're located, and as well as their long-term maintenance to achieve the permit goals. The city's stream restoration projects, streamside tree planting, invasive species management, neighborhood tree planting, and natural area stewardship are all essential for meeting our regulatory requirements. I'll pass it back to Adina now to talk about how we've worked together over the past few years.
Over recent years, BES and Parks have worked together in several areas to improve how we deliver natural resource services in our city. One example we would like to highlight is improving coordination around the management of natural areas. In 2018 and 2019, Portland Parks and Recreation and BES staff worked together to create a natural area management framework. This framework included an inventory of natural areas where both bureaus have investments, resources each bureau could provide regarding natural area management, operations and maintenance funding opportunities and constraints, and cooperative management agreements for the sites that we manage together. In 2019, under the direction of Commissioner Nick Fish, the bureaus began working on the process improvement project. Again, looking at intersections in natural resource service delivery. We developed a vision statement for Portland's urban forests, natural areas, and public access to nature, developed process maps and shared definitions for management activities on city natural areas, and identified root causes impeding the efficiency of natural area management. For the 2 following fiscal years, the bureaus piloted a memorandum of agreement under which Portland Parks and Recreation conducted maintenance activities that provide stormwater and water quality benefits to natural areas either owned by BES or co-owned by both bureaus, and Metro in some cases. Since that time, as part of the Natural Area Collaboration Project, the Interbureau team has been working to incorporate lessons learned into a new agreement that will carry us forward as we implement the work plan that we will discuss in just a moment. I'm going to hand it back to Dawn, who's going to describe the collaborative work we've begun over the last year.
So as we create our new form of government and we strengthen our commitments to equity, climate action, and sustainability, we have a real opportunity to modernize our approach and our roles and responsibilities toward a higher level of productivity and improved service delivery. On February 2nd, 2023, City Council adopted Resolution 37609, which directed the city to develop a work plan that considers the integration of services related to nature, green infrastructure, watershed management, natural areas, urban tree canopy, and other areas of alignment. To consider how these services might be aligned in a beneficial way, BES and Portland Parks and Recreation began an assessment of how the city currently delivers these natural resource services. We hired Catalysis LLC to help facilitate 3 workshops with the 5 stakeholder bureaus, and these workshops were designed to develop a project vision and identify gaps and opportunities. The problem statements on this slide were derived from those workshops and show clear opportunities to improve how we provide services to Portlanders. These opportunities include clarifying scope and coordination between bureaus, creating a cohesive vocabulary across departments, and efficiently managing resources and funding in service of protecting natural areas. Portland Parks and Recreation and BES also employed the services of Eco Northwest to assess over 140 planning and budget documents, reports, and interagency agreements between the 5 participating bureaus as a means of highlighting areas of alignment and overlap. The graphic on the screen illustrates the complex relationship between the bureaus. And keep in mind, 140 documents only reflect the official intersections and do not account for all the soft touch points that happen throughout the city every day. So now Adina will provide us with the results of this analysis and the outline for our work plan.
Thanks, Dawn. Eco Northwest analyzed this inventory of information, provided a best practices framework, and offered 5 opportunities for improvement and alignment of natural resource service delivery. These opportunities are independent of each other and could be implemented individually or in some combination. Keep the current organizational structures while working to increase equity, consistent with the City of Portland core values. Consolidate the delivery of natural area services into a single unit. Consolidate the delivery of green stormwater infrastructure services into a single unit. Consolidate the delivery of tree canopy services into a single unit. Create a new natural resources organizational unit. This opportunity could align with the preceding opportunities or take another form based on the outcome of the work to come. In August, these opportunities and the results of the Partner Bureau workshops and Eco Northwest report were presented to the Portland Utility Board, the Portland Parks and Recreation Board, the Urban Forestry Commission, and approximately 100 managers and supervisors from the 5 participating bureaus. These participants also received surveys to gather their feedback on the opportunities identified in the Eco Northwest report, as well as next steps and potential challenges. We'd like to share some important feedback we received through the engagement efforts. The survey results found that many respondents opposed keeping the current organizational structure that spans multiple bureaus. There was also strong alignment between employees and the public advisory bodies on what opportunities resonated most with them. These included creating a new natural resources organizational unit, consolidating natural area services, and consolidating urban tree canopy services. This feedback has been incorporated into a draft work plan, which lays out the steps the Natural Resource Service Delivery Assessment Team will need to complete in order to fully evaluate opportunities for improvement and chart a path forward. I'll shift now to an overview of the draft work plan. The draft work plan that our team has developed provides an overview of input gathered to date and itemizes the actions the city needs to take to implement resolutions 37609 and 37635. These resolutions both give direction to this project, and to reflect the distinct direction provided by each resolution, there are two parts to this work. The first part is adding citywide operational natural area and tree management to the vibrant community service area with Portland Parks and Recreation, the Portland Children's Levy, and City Arts as directed by Resolution 37635. The second part is to complete the Natural Resource Service Delivery Assessment, which began in response to Resolution 37609, and determine if there are further improvements that can be made to how natural resource services are delivered across the city. The work plan includes a summary table that itemizes the actions the project team needs to complete to develop recommended service delivery improvements, and an implementation plan for those recommendations, including primary deliverables. Those primary deliverables include refined scope of natural resource service delivery resolutions, employee and community engagement and equity components, organizational proposal, budget proposal, policy, rules, and human resource updates, draft and updates to agreements, and change management and communications. The summary table also describes key considerations for each of these deliverables, as well as milestones and the current status for each. The project team is currently evaluating associated regulatory and legal requirements, funding stream implications, potential resources to be transferred, and budget. Operational natural area management is planned to report to the existing Portland Parks and Recreation City Nature Management Unit within the Land Stewardship Department. Operational tree management will report to the existing Portland Parks and Recreation Urban Forestry Department. We anticipate including select budget actions in the fiscal year 24-25 requested budget, but due to the complexity of this realignment, we have agreed that some budget actions will need to be phased over time. As we move through these organizational changes, it's imperative that we continue to be sensitive to team members who will experience a shift in their work landscape. As such, we will work closely with managers to employ change management practices to support their respective teams. Dawn is now going to take us to the conclusion of our presentation.
Thank you, Adina. So I'm going to close this presentation with a look at some of the future opportunities that we've been able to identify based on feedback from the broader citywide charter transition project. The transition team received 80 pages of comments from over 150 respondents regarding a proposed natural resource organizational unit, which was one of the 5 Eco Northwest opportunities that Adina mentioned. They also received over 50 comments about the importance of hiring a climate officer. Many comments addressed both. The majority of respondents expressed interest in and support for a citywide natural resources organizational unit, with the caveat that additional research is needed, including developing a sustainable funding strategy to ensure long-term success and integration into the new governance framework, comprehensively determining what services are in and out of the new unit's scope, reinvesting in green infrastructure practices that have made Portland a worldwide leader in the field, and developing a robust internal and external engagement strategy. There is also strong support for coordinated citywide climate action. Our project team intends to carry this feedback through the implementation of the work plan, as it can inform a broad range of service delivery improvements. We're very excited about City Council's decision to include a Chief Sustainability Officer. This significant development signals that city leadership prioritizes climate action and values in the important work, including natural resource management, that will contribute to a more sustainable and resilient city. Lastly, we see this as an unprecedented opportunity to boldly imagine entirely new ways of working together while joining forces with an impressive and growing number of cities around the world that are forming a network of blue-green cities committed to global climate recovery. So with that, I want to remind you that today we are asking for your feedback on the work plan, including the content, process, timing, participants, and any gaps you see, how to successfully continue this work through government transition, and how to best connect our efforts to Portland's economic and social recovery. Adina and I would like to close our portion of this presentation with a tremendous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the hundreds of city employees and community members who have contributed to this natural resource service delivery discussion, and especially those who helped us prepare for this work session. We would not be where we are today without their passion, dedication, and exceptional experience. Thank you for your attention this afternoon. We'll end here, and we'll invite our Bureau partners to say a few words, and then we'll move on to invited testimony. We would like to invite Director Olivier to speak, and then Director Williams, if she's here. I'm not sure if she's here, and then followed by Director Solma.
Right? She's here. Good.
All right. Thank you, Donnie Oliveira, for the record. I want to first start by thanking Directors Long and Uchiyama for their leadership through this process. We really appreciate having the Bureau's participation and allowing us to offer our thoughts and support the work. Just to kind of frame this to start, so the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability is the steward of two of the city's most significant guiding documents, the first being the 2035 Comprehensive Plan and the Climate Emergency Work Plan. And when looking at these two documents as North Stars for a future Portland, it's clear that the investment and management of our natural resources is essential to the prosperity, health, and resiliency of our communities. The 2035 Comprehensive Plan outlines a vision and goals for the future of Portland. It's guiding principles and urban design direction to help achieve these goals and how to track our progress. It's a state-mandated land use plan, but really acts as the framework for how we grow as a city. And so policies within that plan outline our goals related to housing, economic development, transportation, the urban form, and equally as important is environment and watershed. In fact, there's a whole chapter in the comprehensive plan that's focused on environment and watershed health. Within there, there's 5 goals are outlined with 52 policy directives. And essentially in those policy directives, there are aspirational goals. There's really pragmatic systems management goals, all of which are managed by our colleagues in the infrastructure bureaus. Again, BPS is the steward of that plan and look to our bureau partners to implement. We stand in support and update the plan as necessary. And along with that, the Climate Emergency Work Plan was also a citywide effort to develop, and it's Portland's current climate action plan for reducing our greenhouse emissions while advancing a just energy transition. But equally as important as our focus to reduce emission is the 24 objectives within the plan that highlight the important work city bureaus are investing in to prepare our neighborhoods, built environment, and our precious environmental resources to the impacts of the climate crisis. Yes, Portland is known for its natural areas and parks that provide beauty and enjoyment, but they also play a vital role in the city's ability to adapt to extreme weather events. And it was alluded to earlier, I just want to acknowledge it now that as a part of the transition, Council has established a sustainability officer in the city administrator's office. But along with that, last year, Council directed the Bureau to also reestablish a climate commission. So for the past year, BPS staff, led by the Chief Sustainability Officer, Vivian Satterfield, has been working with external and internal partners to create a framework for a new climate commission that we'll be bringing to Council later this year for adoption, hopefully to be stood up in time to help with the transition, but also support the natural resources work as this program is developed. Next slide, please. Along with the planning work that we do at BPS, the Portland Clean Energy Fund is also housed in the Bureau, and along with the work that's been done today, working with communities to invest the vision of the plan as adopted by our voters. We also have an opportunity to invest in our Bureau's much-needed infrastructure. Specifically speaking to natural resources, on the screen are highlighted the allocation proposals that are currently out for consideration. I want to acknowledge that these are not in order, I'm sorry, but the $40 million in the equitable tree canopy was actually adopted by Council in 2022. At that time, Council directed Urban Forestry Division and PSEF staff to develop the equitable tree canopy strategy with community. That was done in 23, and we're in implementation phase now, which is really exciting. And then in October of 2023, after a 10-month community engagement process, City Council adopted the $750 million climate investment plan, which has a host of different directives, including the addition of the transportation sector. We have an RFP that's actually closing next week, which is our RFP number 3. And it also set aside 16 strategic initiatives for partnership with bureaus. About 2 weeks after that investment plan was adopted by council, the fund forecast was updated, and we discovered that there was an additional approximately $540 million in revenue. At that time, given the historic engagement that was done to adopt the $750 million investment plan, we pivoted to looking at existing climate programming within the bureaus. We looked at existing capital plans and work plans within our infrastructure bureaus in particular, but also looking at other bureau partners as well to identify projects that would be eligible within the PISA fund, reducing greenhouse gas emissions either through emissions reductions or sequestration, and also, of course, ensuring community benefits. Specific to that, in the natural resources areas, we saw opportunity to invest in the Bureau of Environmental Services for watershed, natural systems, restoration, and biological sciences to the tune of about $17.5 million over 5 years. Additionally, there was investment opportunities in stormwater management and blue-green infrastructure to the tune of $53 million over 5 years, and private property tree management to $7 million. And then in addition to that, as alluded to by the Parks team in the earlier presentation, there was resources for Mount Scott, the transition to leaf blowers to electric leaf blowers, and the arborist training program. One additional project that I want to highlight that is currently being considered by the Portland Clean Energy Fund Grant Committee is an additional $100 million that would go to tree protection and care in the right-of-way. So this is what the question that Commissioner Gonzalez asked earlier. Is there opportunities for us to support our homeowners and residents who are dealing with tree issues? That resource would be the pot of money that would go to help that if the PSF committee makes that recommendation to council. So so in tune, there's about $218 million of resources currently in the CIP and this additional tranche of resources that have been proposed for natural resources investment.
Thank you, Donnie. Director Williams?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Director. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and members of the council. For the record, my name is Millicent Williams, and I am the Director of the Portland Bureau of Transportation. PBOT is here to offer our support to the Bureau of Environmental Services and Portland Parks and Recreation's plan to continue to research and refine the city's natural resources management needs. At PBOT, we devote $6.2 million annually towards vegetation management and provide an additional $1 million to urban forestry to provide additional tree management services. PBOT's funding goes towards 16 maintenance and operations crew members who maintain 171 different vegetation areas, including traffic islands, land plats, park blocks, and 3 parks. Yes, we also manage parks. And we partner on dozens of projects with Parks and Recreation, with BES, and with the Water Bureau. Based on what you've already heard and what you will continue to see, natural resources as a discipline, as a class of work and classification of assets, shows up in spaces and institutions throughout the city. The need for increased coordination, leading to increased accountability and stewardship, is of critical importance. PBOT works to consistently fund services over and beyond vegetation management. With our limited transportation revenue, we focus on ensuring that the city's rights of way remain unobstructed, that damaged or dead limbs are removed from the right of way in a timely fashion, and that vegetation does not become overgrown. We recognize that a well-maintained system is a safer system. As the city continues to define this area of need, we at PBOT recognize the need to be a part of these critical conversations. Our work is inextricably bound, and our partnership is of critical importance. We believe that the cooperation, coordination, and innovation that has been born out of the conversations and planning leading up to this date demonstrate a broad base of support for the system-wide problem solving with specific focus on defining and managing the city's natural resources. We further recognize that we are in a fiscally constrained environment, all of us, but that shouldn't stop us from being solutions-oriented and investing time and perhaps resources in support of ideas that will move us into a more sustainable future. Thank you for calling this session and for providing us, partners in building infrastructure, managing infrastructure, and maintaining infrastructure, the opportunity to demonstrate and speak to our support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Gabe Selmer. I'm your Portland Water Bureau Director. I use she, her pronouns. I will attempt to close us out here just by saying we've heard a lot of information. That was a lot to take in. You've heard some of the challenges. And what I would add to the conversation is maybe just a little bit of reassurance. You have here before you representatives from 5 bureaus who are all working diligently to support natural resources. And this work has been at the forefront of what we do for literally over 100 years in some of our cases. You have real commitment to protecting and providing these natural resources. We do have inefficiencies in how we work together, and we do have areas where we could coordinate better. That's always going to be true, and that's something that we need to work on. But what we have now, where we are right now, is more than a starting point. It is a lot of amazing work that you've heard just really touch the surface on. And it's a strong foundation to build on. So we're all here because we believe that there's a better way to work together, and we want to work towards that better future state. We want to do that in a way that's sustainable and that's transparent and that is with communities. I think that's very important to highlight, that what we do and how we do it is very important. So I'll just close by saying I think that the maxim slow and steady seems particularly apt here. We are on our way. We are excited for our next steps, and we're committed to the deliverables that you heard today. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, I think that is,
I believe there was some invited testimony.
oh, okay, we're on to invited testimony.
Did I hear that correctly?
We don't have to.
Yes, no, maybe?
Commissioner Ryan, do you want to call them up by name?
I have a list, I would.
I see Bob back there.
I will ask Dr. Corbin, Dr. C.N.E. Corbin, to come up for her invited testimony.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
There are particular places.
Wherever you feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Of course. Good afternoon, counselors, and thank you for inviting me to speak today on behalf of the Portland Parks and Recreation Board. My name is Dr. C.N.E. Corbin. I am the chair of the Portland Parks and Recreation Board. I'm also a faculty member of PSU at the Toulon School of Urban Studies and Planning, and I obtained my PhD in Environmental Science Policy and Management. I research green cities along a historical arch from redlining to greenlining, with a specific focus on race, class, housing, and access to green space. So in doing so, I have become an engaged environmental justice scholar and a community member that likes to contribute to civic actions. I'm here to provide a few remarks about the Natural Resource Service Delivery Assessment work that has been heard about today. I'd like to start by thanking you for the attention the city has given to these discussions around natural resources in our city. Parks and natural resources, our city's sustainability work and investments, our community investments, and arts and cultural programming, among other functions, what I have consistently ranked Portland among the U.S.'s greenest cities, one of the reasons why I moved here, and despite recent drops, historically one of the best cities to live in. The Portland Parks Board has been following the Natural Resource Service Delivery Assessment process since it kicked off following the adoption of Resolution 37609. The Parks Board members have participated in engagements with Chris Cadwell from Catalyst, I believe, presentation and review of Eco Northwest's report findings, surveys, and the review of the project roadmap and draft work plan at a joint meeting of advisory bodies with continued opportunities to provide feedback. The board was pleased with the recommendations on further collaboration that came out of the Eco Northwest report. This level of collaboration will create a productive environment for implementing the work of caring for our city's resources. The Parks Board supported the adoption of the subsequent resolution 37635, because centralizing the work around natural spaces and tree canopy could create significant efficiencies within the city government. Creating a space for this work to occur within the new city structure is the same service area as Parks and Recreation, builds on the work our bureaus have already begun to align in these ways that services are delivered to Portlanders as they reported earlier. Looking forward, the Parks Board has received a commitment from the Natural Resource Service Delivery Assessment Project Team for further participation in the Natural Resource Work Group to help guide the work plan implementation. And we appreciate the opportunity to collaborate on this project, and we look forward to further opportunities to engage as the work moves forward. As we think about the future of parks in Portland, we think about how we can assure that we have parks and open spaces as our city grows, and how changes to our city structure can help enhance the experiences that Portlanders have in our parks and more broadly in our natural spaces. Approaching our natural spaces and our tree canopy holistically, we believe requires thinking about our urban ecology systematically. We support continuing this work to explore opportunities to align with that thinking that benefits our community and our environment. So thank you for allowing me to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Corbin. I now have the list. I appreciate you testifying. Also, it's great to be on your campus, and thanks for your leadership of the Parks Board. Next, we have Bob Salinger. And after Bob, it's Roberta Jordan.
Mr. Salinger, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and members of City Council. My name is Bob Salinger, and I am here today representing the Portland Utility Board, and with me is Rosalind Gray, who is ex officio on the Portland Utility Board and staff at BES. We appreciate the opportunity to testify. I've not only served on the Portland Utility Board, I also did 2 tours of duty on the Parks Board. I've served on many budget committees, and I have also been on many of the planning processes for the tree code, for natural areas, for the watershed plan, and so on. So I've been tracking this for a long time. I am here today to urge you to be bold, to be inclusive and transparent, but to be bold. The city was once considered a national leader in green infrastructure and natural resource protection, really a national and international leader. We set the standard. But we don't today. And that's not because we don't have incredible staff. It's for a variety of reasons, and I'll just hit a few today. One, we dismantled some of the most important pieces, what we used to call the watershed division at BES, formerly Science, Fish, and Wildlife. That was the city's environmental brain. It brought all these pieces together and did the hard work of not just doing what you have to do, but getting ahead of the curve. We have programs scattered through many, many bureaus with many, many different agreements, different funding mechanisms, trying to achieve different and overlapping regulatory mandates, and they become fragmented. I think about this in terms of like a computer in which has become incredibly fragmented, and you look at that screen with all the different colored dots, and they start to come together. We have all the dots, but we got to bring them back together. We got to make them coherent again. And so what we believe is that the original reorg chart got it right. The original reorg chart created a natural resources unit in the infrastructure service area. That was subsequently taken out. But we believe that that is what we need to be heading toward. We need to do that to increase efficiency, to achieve better funding resources, to defragment all these different programs, to achieve those blue sky goals. Because if we don't bring all of these different efforts together, there's no way we can get to there. And that's the outcome that we need to achieve. We believe it needs to be in the infrastructure service area. Why? Because the infrastructure service area are the bureaus that change our landscape. And when we're talking about natural resources, we're talking about landscape change. To put any of these programs somewhere else is to increase that fragmentation and that separation that we're trying to overcome. It just exacerbates the situation. And so it needs to be in the infrastructure unit. Some people are concerned that this will cause lots of uprooting, that we will yank programs from all over the place and reorganize everybody. That doesn't have to happen. I think what has to happen, it needs to be modest but ambitious. Create a natural resources unit before the transition occurs, because if you wait till after, they're not going to get to it for a very long time. Make it modest and small. Pull from existing resources, move programs that make sense, like Superfund, like mitigation banking, that are basically policy-oriented. And they're orphans right now. Although they're within BES, they're kind of orphaned right now. So move them in. And then allow this bureau to create that connective tissue, to do that defragmenting over time, to bring all the different programs that are spread among so many bureaus, to figure out whether they stay where they are, whether they could move somewhere else that could be more efficient, or whether they move into the actual natural resources unit. That can happen after the transition. But get the program in place. We're concerned about what happened at the last visiting of this in November, when two programs, important programs, cornerstone programs for sure, natural areas and trees, were moved from BES to parks. We thought that was premature because we need to have the big picture before we start moving people around. And not only are the programs affected, but they're real employees, as you know, real people. We don't think the due diligence was done on that. Looking at legal issues, regulatory issues, funding issues, sustainability issues. I'm not going to belabor it today, but I was on the group that helped create the pub, and the reason the Portland Utility Board was created was because the city was making lots of decisions without really thinking very deeply about them. It led to a lawsuit, it led to an initiative, a referendum, and after that they created the Portland Utility Board to say, okay, let's make sure that we actually run these through a unit that really can stop and think about them and vet them well. It's not that it was the right decision or the wrong decision, but it wasn't really thought through. I'm here to urge you today not to get high-centered on that, though. I think you need to address those issues in the budget cycle. If you can't address them, we would urge you not to move anything at this time. But don't get high-centered on that, because that's not the big prize. The big prize is the natural resources unit that can really do that kind of work and figure out how to get it done. So I'll just end by saying the pub is very concerned that these different oversight bodies that the city has are not adequately engaged in these processes. They were created for a reason. They were created to give deep thought to these kinds of issues. If we don't engage them in these kinds of issues, why bother to have them at all? And I say that as somebody that cares a lot about those kinds of programs. But if we're not going to really engage them and bring them in a really integrated way, there's really not a whole lot of point in having community members serve on them. These are exactly the decisions that we need to be part of. So I'll end by just saying we really hope that you do move forward with this. That we address some basic issues about funding and what can move in the very short term, and then you charge it with figuring out how to do the heavy lifting going forward. And we appreciate the time to testify today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm happy to be here as an ex officio member of the Portland Utility Board and to share my perspective as a restoration design manager on staff with BES. I want to emphasize an understanding that natural resources delivery is among the most complex integrated work the city does. From urban planning to property acquisition, the science, the applied science of natural systems, the practice of engineering design, the liability of construction management, the nuance and skill of public engagement, all delivered within a very demanding regulatory environment and in the face of a looming climate crisis. The importance of this work and the integrated nature of this work cannot be overstated. Developing a new natural resources organizational unit is also complex work that must be managed accordingly. And the draft work plan proposed is much appreciated, as is the opportunity to contribute. Both pub and city staff are eager to provide formal feedback with a general expectation that the final draft will explicitly identify the project team members, clear objectives, detailed steps towards incremental milestones. And please know there's a deep enthusiasm to support this work with a commitment to process improvement, environmental stewardship, and effective government. Like a river that is the product of everything that has ever happened to it, we are here standing on the shoulders of talented, visionary people who have dedicated their life's work to the stewardship of this urban ecosystem. The reason we all hold such high expectations for the delivery of natural resources by the City of Portland is because there are so many accomplishments to date. At present, we have the capacity to deliver complex urban floodplain restoration projects that are decades in the making. Deep institutional knowledge is still intact. We have an evolving understanding of environmental justice. I could go on. And if nothing else, the track record of achievements sets the standard for future levels of service to the residents and ratepayers of Portland and the inhabitants of our watersheds, and for the continued and enhanced investment in this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. We might have a couple of questions.
Well, I'm
Commissioner?
confused, yeah. There was 3 people on the list. You're not Roberta, are you?
Not Roberta.
Okay,
She's here.
okay. I think we should.
Why don't we let Roberta speak, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Yeah.
Could you stick around, Bob? We've got a third seat. You have a couple more minutes. You can stay. Awesome. Come on up. Thank you for being here.
Okay, and so you're a member of the BES staff, correct?
I'm BES staff, and I'm an ex officio member of the pub.
Okay. So, Director, you knew that she was on the panel? I just didn't know. I didn't have it on the list. Dawn, did you, this was all part of the? Okay, all right, thanks. Just going off my list, that's all. Hi, I'm
Hello.
glad to know that Roberta's here.
Greetings, Mayor,
Thanks for being
City Commissioners. My name is Roberta Jortner, and I currently co-chair the Portland Urban Forestry Commission. As we don't yet have a full UFC statement, I'm here as an individual, but we'll touch on some issues that the Forestry Commission has addressed in recent meetings. I also bring 30 years of experience in the natural resource policy and planning profession, including 25 invigorating years with the Portland Water Bureau, Bureau of Environmental Services, and Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. As noted, the city has come to recognize natural resources as critical infrastructure assets, but we can do better. The management is disparate, as you've heard, and we still don't fund and manage these resources on a level playing field with our conventional gray infrastructure. So I want to thank the City Council and the bureaus for your efforts and for, as you said, shining a bright light on this issue at this time as we look at our transition in governance. I support moving forward with these additional suggestions. First, as noted, the work plan raises some fundamental unresolved questions of funding, community engagement, compliance, bureau roles, and how to align the 2 resolutions. And while we need to keep moving forward, we do need to take the time it takes to work these through before we make any major changes to bureau program structure and staffing. Second, I support your call to integrate Portland's natural resource service delivery. But integration does not always mean complete consolidation. So, and no one entity can do it all. Each bureau, each of these participating bureaus has a unique and critical role, as you have heard about, and must continue to weave green and blue infrastructure assets into their work and into their missions. What we do need, though, however, is a comprehensive, integrated, citywide natural asset management program that, one, puts Portland's blue and green infrastructure and gray infrastructure elements on a level playing field, and 2, that provides a complete picture of what it will take not only to meet the blue sky scenarios, but to create and sustain a system that is resilient to climate change impacts and invasive species, and that keeps pace with future development over time. As such, it seems only sensible to put that natural resource management and assessment management program in the infrastructure service delivery bundle, as Mr. Salinger suggests. There, it can support collaboration among all the bureaus, help resolve inter-bureau conflicts, and hold bureaus accountable to an and rather than an or model in how we make decisions. An example might be that a street safety project, it should be a given that should improve tree canopy as well. A natural asset management strategy would prioritize investments to manage existing resources and to expand them through retrofits to the landscape, which could include things like depaving and planting, things like the PBOT bump out project, the curb bump out project for large street trees, and brownfield remediation. It could also really help set the stage for us to look at how we would address our housing, climate, resilience, tree canopy goals simultaneously rather than pitting these things against each other. The program must establish a sustainable funding portfolio that minimizes reliance on the general fund. A number of natural resources programs have been very prone to early cuts in tight budget years, and we need to look at a funding system that has a diverse array of funding sources, capitalization, rates, fees. There's a whole lot of good ideas out there, and we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. And finally, the program must provide transparent accountability mechanisms for meeting goals and for effective community engagement. You know, more than half of Portland's tree canopy shades private property, not parks, not streets, et cetera. And the community needs to be engaged in helping participate and steward these asset management programs over time. So thank you again for your efforts, and the Urban Forestry Commission looks forward to participating and supporting the effort.
Thank you, appreciate it. And that completes invited.
Yeah, I only knew of 3, so that, I think we had a bonus coverage, right? So we're done with a 4. And we should have Dr. Corbin come back up for Q&A, so she joins the panel.
Great, and Commissioner Mapps has his hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I actually have let me go. I want to thank everyone who's come to testify today. And I want to also thank you for being a partner in this conversation for as long as I've been part of this conversation, which I think has been ever since I've been on council. And I tell you, at this hour, I do not know what the final work plan or proposal will look like. It's still very much a work in progress. But one of the things I look forward to seeing where those discussions land. But I did want to get your feedback on at least the process that we have here. I know there's been some frustration with the process in recent months, and that's behind us. Let's move forward. My general understanding is that staff will work on refining the work plan through February. I think March, we're going to be doing a lot of outreach to advisory groups. I think every group that's represented on this panel, plus more. April, staff will probably do a little bit of internal. We'll come back inside, take that feedback and put together a final proposal, which will go to essentially the mayor's office in May. And I know that's vague and that's all process, and I know you folks really care about substance, but at least are we getting the process right at this point? Or if you have any suggestions on things we should do different in terms of process, this is a great time to share that.
We probably all have many.
Anybody who wants to go.
Want to go down the line?
I'll go. I mean, I think what I heard from Director Long in part and from others is that not everything is going to get resolved.
Yeah.
You know, by May or June. And so it would be good if there were sort of a sense of the trajectory in the near term and maybe over time, knowing that some things won't be clear yet. The other thing is that a joint meeting of these 3 bodies recently and a presentation from the staff, there was some public input that, you know, we're not the community. I mean, we are appointed bodies by yourselves, and given the importance of this, there was comments that there should be more community engagement before big decisions are made. And I think it would be great to, we don't want to bog the process down. There's been a lot of work, and a lot of people really don't want to know about this stuff. Some do, and a lot of folks who could provide good input, like watershed councils and so forth, who have a deep stake and commitment on this. So if there's a way to at least be transparent as we move forward and provide some opportunity for broader community input, that would be my my interest.
Thank you very much. We could just work down the line, and you can pass if you don't have much to share. But go ahead.
Sure. As a project manager,
Yeah.
I think a work plan is totally doable. Yeah, the timeline that we have in front of us is relatively short.
Yeah.
You've heard expressed interest in being engaged, but the decision points and the heavy lifting comes later. So I think we can do good work with the work plan.
Excellent. I'm excited to see that. Bob?
I think the timeline is correct. I think that's the right timeline. I find the document still very vague, and I don't necessarily find it directional. And I think if we're going to get it done, and that's why I started by saying I think council needs to be bold on this. I do think we need this. I'm a little bit ahead of the pub on that. But I think that this is the right direction. And I think direction needs to be given. Because I think we could wind up in May with something that's very amorphous, and it's still kind of, we might do this, we might not. We need to think about it some more. I think this is a unique opportunity, and I think if it gets delayed beyond the end of this year, it simply won't happen. They won't get to it. There's too many other important things on their plate. So I think this council has to get the work done. And so I think the more you can kind of corral it and say this is where we're heading, and I think we do need to remember, something I didn't say in my testimony was it's not just about trees and parks and natural areas. We have Bull Run, we have Superfund, we have mitigation banking, we have green infrastructure, we have sustainable stormwater. The list is massive. And so it's pulling all of those things together. So don't get high centered just on the two kind of big ticket items. But how do we bring all of those things together? And without something pulling them together, and I think, again, they got it right in the original draft plan, it's not going to happen. So I think saying that's where we're heading now, just figure out what the pieces are that move into that and how that works would be important.
That's great. And let me ask a quick follow-up question. I know you touched on this in your testimony, and I can't make any promises, but Bob, could you reiterate for us where you hope that we are at the end of this year?
I hope at the end of this year we have a natural resources unit within the infrastructure service area. That can be a relatively small thing. It doesn't have to be, it's a start. It's the seed, it's the kernel that we grow from, but that it has a director, it has a basic structure, it's high centered on science, law, and policy. That maybe a few programs move into it that make sense. As I mentioned, Superfund, mitigation banks, things like that that are kind of policy oriented. I'm not looking for something that has a building and 500 trucks. And then that it is charged with kind of looking at all those pieces that are spread out all over the place and starting to figure out, again, I think as Roberta said, you don't have to necessarily move them, but how do you connect them? And should some of them move? And how so if they did? But leave that work for later. And that will allow that unit to either become a lot bigger or stay as it is, but form that connective tissue. Does that help?
That it does, I can't make any promises, but I respect your expertise in this area and everyone's expertise in this area. So hearing it clearly from you is especially helpful to me, and probably even more important. I know I have staff both in this room and on Zoom who are watching too. So I want to make sure that you're heard, and certainly we will be reaching out in March to get your feedback, and I know we have an ongoing conversation around this space. Very much appreciate everything. Last but hardly least, how are we doing?
I would say that we need to really think about moving at the speed of trust and educating community members as we go. This is not a superfluous process. This is going to actually matter to people's lives, especially when we're dealing with climate crises each season, happening more and more. And I think educating the community and having them understand the difference between preservation, conservation, mitigation, restoration, ecosystem creation, and those different practices are very important. So if we don't invite community members in, how are they going to support the process, right? And so I don't have timelines. I have more of phases that we need to move towards to really think about what the built and natural environment can help us with. And I think one of the questions that we don't tend to ask is, we tend to look at how nature can serve the city, but we don't necessarily look at how the city can serve nature to serve the city and serve residents, and how environmental justice is bounded up in this whole process. So if we continue to make it unreachable for the everyday person, they might not know how critical this work is. And so I think moving at the speed of trust and education is absolutely imperative to the work that we're doing.
Thank you. The speed of trust, that's certainly a concept I'll be thinking about as we continue these conversations. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Ryan.
Yeah, yes, relationships do move at the speed of trust, and it was great to have all of you up here and giving your perspective. What I witnessed before you all came up was 5 bureau directors talking about their methodical collaboration they've been working on for some time. And so I'd like to end this work session with having at least some of you come back to tell us what your next steps are, because you're actively working with one another as we speak. And so I don't think we're saying different things here, but it was very confusing to me to go from that collaborative, this is how we're methodically working together, to then almost hearing that this isn't happening, but it is. And so thank you for your testimony. Now I'd like to have the bureau directors to come back to set this
Could I ask?
so we can have what the next
yeah,
steps are.
that's fine. Actually, you guys can go, and I heard what you said, and I really appreciated it, Bob. And you gave us sort of a new idea to think about today, and I appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
I do have a question for the bureau. So, plural.
I think we're having them come back.
Great. Did you want to go first, Dan?
No, I just wanted to make sure we ended with what the spirit of where we were moving towards and not blow that up so we could figure out, so we could really listen to what the next steps are.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. So before we get to the next steps, this is a budget work session, and I have the enviable/unenviable role of having to craft the first part of the budget. And there's a part of this that I expressed confusion on when the council majority voted to move the natural resources area from infrastructure to parks. And you may not have an answer today, which is fine, but it's foremost in my mind when we're talking about the budget, which is we're moving from a utility rate-based bureau towards a levy/general fund-based bureau. And I am curious to know what the expectation was with regard to how the natural resource program gets funded if it's being moved from a utility-based, utility rate-based bureau towards a general fund bureau, particularly in a budget environment where general fund dollars are extremely overcommitted.
I'm going to start, and then I'm going to pass it to Dawn because she can speak to the ratepayer piece.
Okay.
But I want to take a moment to clarify. And I understand it's confusing, right? We should almost have a glossary of all the terms for everyone. And even internally, we talk about what is natural resources and what is not. And so I just want to note that the most recent resolution, 635, that that passed was to transition citywide operational natural area and tree management to Portland Parks and Recreation. It is not all of natural resources. That is a much larger umbrella term. And so I think that there's this opportunity sort of to clarify, and that's a part of what the work plan says we're going to do, is to clarify the two resolutions, what's in, what's out, et cetera. So for this budget, for this fiscal year requested budget, we're having a conversation specifically around some operational functions around natural areas and tree management. So it's a much narrower focus for this fiscal year. We'll continue the larger conversation as a part of the work plan process. And so I'll pass it to Dawn to talk about the ratepayer piece. I know that that is something that we also have to work through, not just the funding streams, but also the regulatory compliance issues. So we're well aware of them. And it is something that's something that we're talking about quite a bit and will continue to through the work plan process.
Okay,
But
and if I could just comment on that, Director Long, and I appreciate your response. the pressure that my team is under with regard to the proposed budget is budgets can cement programs. They can cement them in place, or alternatively, they can create flexibility and a runway towards something else if the situation is still fluid. And we're going to need to know fairly quickly where these programs reside in order to be able to make a budget that makes any sense. And the flavor of money matters as I craft the proposed budget. I need to know what the source is. And so if it's too loose, that requires me to infer or guess what the sources are going to be and potentially where the parts of the program end up. And I don't want to be put in that position, to be honest with you.
Understood. We stated during our remarks that we actually were not going to be moving forward with the natural area, any budget actions related to the natural areas in this upcoming.
So you're going to propose to me and my staff that we have status quo with regard to budgeting. Am I hearing that correctly?
Not completely. So status quo as it relates to natural areas.
Towards sourcing.
But not, but we will be moving forward with the transition of a tree management portion of the resolution.
Okay, and tree, and sorry, hate to play dumb, but this is my chance to catch up.
That's why we're doing this.
A lifelong pursuit, I might add. So the tree management piece currently resides in infrastructure, is that correct or no? Where is it?
Urban forestry is the tree management function in Portland Parks and Recreation. The Bureau of Environmental Services has a small tree planting program that includes 3 FTE, approximately $1 million and change.
I remember this discussion. Okay, so the 3
So we're talking about transitioning that program or those resources and the responsibilities to parks.
And BES's program is just private property. So that's the distinction.
Okay.
So we're working on private property. So Adina, I'd like to follow up, and I think part of the confusion is that we haven't agreed on what natural areas means or what trees mean and what parts of that. And so what I think that where there has been some disagreement and more confusion is just what are we doing for the February 16th budget deadline? We have to get our information in and submitted to you. And then what are we doing in subsequent fiscal cycles? And so what we've been advocating for is to not do anything rash and not jump into it until we have the chance to work on these definitions, be really clear about what's cemented, what's in flux, what's going to grow, and especially with the work that we're doing with climate and resiliency, how do we grow this even bigger vision, not just about how to move these pieces around within these 2 bureaus. So there's definitely, I think, some confusion around the definition of these programs. Adina is described a more operational interest, and when we talk about it, it's a much broader interest, and it's woven into everything that we do. So it isn't just a matter of moving these pieces over. So, and it's tied, of course, as I've emphasized, to our regulations and our funding. So the big, I think, message here is just let's not rush into it this fiscal year. We've got a work plan. We know how to work together. We can make these decisions with community and be wise about it. And then the other, I think, issue is that when we talk about our funding, as we learned with Anderson, we can't pay for other bureau FTEs, and we have to pay for service. So it isn't that we can just transfer the money over to another bureau. We have to describe and scope the work, have them do the work, and then we pay. That's how we have agreed to be really clear about how the funds are being used and keeping that nexus to our stormwater.
And I had a question about that. So I want to make sure I understand it. So in this case, the Parks Bureau, to the degree that they oversee pieces of this program, would be doing so on the behest of the infrastructure bureaus as a subcontractor?
Well, yeah, through an interagency.
Through an interagency agreement. Okay, and so potentially then ratepayer funds could be used to do that since the Parks Bureau is acting on your behalf. Is that correct?
As long as the work is complete. We're not paying upfront. We're paying after the work is complete.
So it's a reimbursement, in other words. Okay, fine, good, great, that's helpful.
If I could, I'm sorry, if I could just add not a curveball, but just another thing to consider. Director Oliveri, in his presentation at the tail end of ours, noted the PSEF funding that has been identified for consideration. In those buckets, there was PSEF funding that was identified for BES's tree planting program. So what I contend is it doesn't have to be ratepayer dollars. There are PSEF funds that were going to go towards this program at BES. So if we are moving that function over, it doesn't have to be ratepayer dollars. That is funding that work.
All right, thank you. Commissioner?
Why don't I just let that lie?
Fair enough.
Do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Good.
Well, I just want to thank both, especially the two of you. I know since I've been overseeing parks, this conversation's been quite active. So I'm glad that other people are now tuned in to how much work you've been doing for some time. So there perhaps was too much mystery on that, and I'm glad that was lifted today. This is not new work again, and we've heard so much feedback about slowing down to get it right. So that's why the testimony was great. I hope you're seeing that they are taking your advice, and they've been very methodical about this process. I really appreciate your questions, Mayor. They were very helpful to see the color of money on where this is coming from, and you had, I heard some really crisp answers to those questions. Resolutions 37609 and 37635 have elevated the importance of natural resource management work and have brought together partner bureaus and stakeholders to co-create a work plan that will guide these efforts forward. I want to thank all the bureau leaders that were here. It was wonderful to have all 5 of you here with BPS. This is crucial work. Everyone here today agrees. There's one thing I know we all heard: natural resource services are a critical component of the city's climate resiliency and sustainability. And as mentioned earlier, it is our natural areas that have attracted so many of us to be Portlanders and remain Portlanders until their final days. We will get this right. Thank you all for being here. Take care.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mayor.
All right, Commissioner.
Just real briefly, I want to thank everyone who's been working on this project. I know this has gone on for literally years, and it's often very challenging work. I also want to thank our community stakeholders who have been part of this conversation often for years. They've made me smarter. I think they've kept us honest, and they will be a crucial part to making sure that we get natural resources right for Portlanders today and in the future. I think if you back up and ask ourselves, what did we learn today? You know, I think one of the things I hope people take away from this conversation is some of the reasons why this work is so important. And I suspect if you listen carefully, today we also learned and got some insights into why this work is also very challenging. I really appreciate the spirit of collaboration that which has come to define this project. I look forward to hitting our deadlines. This form of government, as we all know, is going to sunset in about 10 months. This is one of the things that I want to get done before we move on to our next form of government. I don't think we have to get all of this right, but if we can actually lay out a vision and a foundation for the sound management of Portland's natural resources, I feel like our work together will have been a success. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll hand it back to you.
I love ending on an optimistic note. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.